It's now time to write our paper. You are going to be writing 3 paragraphs, an introduction and 2 body paragraphs. In this case, you're going to proclaim your answer to the question, should the Brazilian government develop the Amazon rainforest? First, we need to develop a topic sentence or thesis statement. For your topic sentence, you are going to need to consider a couple things. First, is your answer that the Brazilian government should develop the rainforest or should not develop the rainforest? Next, for which 2 reasons or categories are you going to write about as evidence? Remember, our categories are economic, environmental, social, and political. You will only need to choose 2 reasons. You will write a paragraph about each of these 2 reasons or categories in an individual paragraph. So, an example of a topic sentence for this paper would say something like, the Brazilian government should develop the Amazon rainforest for economic and environmental purposes. Notice I mentioned the 2 types of reasons that I am giving to support my answer, should develop. This sentence answers the questions and informs Mr. Rapp and I about which type of evidence you are going to use to support your choice. You're going to make sure that you include the academic vocabulary that we have in the beginning of the packet. These words include tropical rainforests, biodiversity, land use conflict, sustainable development, and deforestation. If you are unsure about the meanings of any of this academic vocabulary, please go back to the background essay or to your vocabulary that we wrote down the definitions for in our folder or binder. You're going to need to use most of these words, if not all of them. We also want to include the groups of people that are involved in this conversation: the native Amazonians, the settlers, the cattle ranchers, loggers, rubber tappers, and environmental groups. You will want to talk about some or most of these groups in your introduction. You will want to explain to Mr. Rapp and I what is going on with all of these groups and how they wish to use the rainforest in different ways. Next, we want to write a body paragraph using evidence from the packet. As I mentioned previously, we are only going to write 2 body paragraphs. So we will need 2 reasons or categories that we wish to focus on. The first one that we want to focus on will become our first body paragraph. Keep in mind that for each body paragraph, we are going to focus on just one category. Our introduction laid out our entire paper and told the reader that you would be talking about 2 different reasons or categories. So your first category will fit into body paragraph number 1, either economic, environmental, social, or political. Focus on only one type of evidence for each paragraph. For example, if you wish to talk about environmental evidence and documents, that will be the focus of our body 1 paragraph. Notice that I have restated the question and made it into a statement, including my point of view. The Brazilian government should develop the Amazon rainforest for environmental purposes. In my introduction, I told the reader that I would be introducing them to the evidence that support environmental and economic reasons why the Brazilian government should develop. I'm simply narrowing my focus, but restating the question and how I feel, as well as alerting the reader that I will be giving them my environmental evidence from my environmental documents. We are now ready to give our evidence that we wish to use to support our point of view. In this case, I have used document 4. Please notice how I created my sentence, providing evidence for my paper. According to Facts About the Rainforest, This is the title in document 4. 500,000 trees are cut down every hour in the tropical rainforest. This is information that I acquired from document 4. It is environmental, and so that is why it is in this body paragraph. I must give evidence from one of the documents and explain that evidence once I have included it. This information was taken from the document. When you are giving evidence, refer to a document that you understand and that you can use its message or main idea to be the evidence you are using to support your point of view. Be sure to give the document's title and its main idea or message. You can also use a quote if it's from a reading or if it's somebody's language. Then, just as we do in our field photograph, we need to write an explanation of the evidence. But instead of talking about what we see in a field photograph, you're going to talk about the main idea or message of the document you chose in the sentence above. You need to make a connection to the evidence. So you would consider, why is the evidence important? Your sentence would be the answer to that question. Or, what do you think of the evidence? This would be your sentence for explanation of your evidence. You could also finish the question stem, this proves. Be sure to restate the evidence in your own words. You are not using a document for this sentence. You are explaining the evidence in the sentence from the document above. You will give a second piece of evidence using a different document. You will explain that document and evidence as you had done previously. If you are able, you could also give a third piece of evidence using a third different document and explain this evidence. If you are only able to do this using 2 documents, that is sufficient. If you notice, our paragraph is 5 sentences. This paper is not so much about quantity or how many sentences or paragraphs, but about quality. Have you established a point of view? Should the Brazilian government develop the Amazon rainforest, or the Brazilian government should not develop the rainforest? Next, have you chosen your 2 categories that you wish to write about? Economic, environmental, social, or political? And finally, have you selected evidence from documents that you understand and explain that evidence that you chose to use? You will do the same thing in the second body paragraph. You will write a topic sentence that informs us of your point of view, as well as a different category or set of reasons. So maybe body 2 would be about economic reasons. You would write a topic sentence similar to the one in body paragraph 1, and you would find a document, evidence, that would be used to support economic reasons. You would explain that document and evidence. You would then find a second document that talked about economic reasons to develop or to not develop. You will explain that evidence, and your paper will be finished. Be sure to fill in this outline before you type or write your final paper. It shows you exactly where you need to place your information. Please also feel free to go back to today's meet. There are pieces of information and evidence from your classmates supporting many of the different reasons, as well as providing quotes and evidence that they will be using in their paper. Feel free to gather ideas and use it as examples. Congratulations as you finish your very first and definitely not last DBQ.